Hi everybody, this is Ron Taylor with the Roughcut Overview series. Today I'm looking at First Thessalonians. I have several notes in front of me, here, there, and everywhere. There's a lot of material when we're getting into end times and eschatological issues and matters and positions. It can get very, very deep. One of the famous sayings in theology is that the gospel is so simple to understand. It's like a child playing in a mud puddle, but it's also deep enough for a theologian to drown himself. So let's get into this. Paul starts off the first chapter, verses 5 and 6. He reiterates that when I came to you, the gospel was not in word only, but with word and power. The gospel is not complete if it's just in word and power. We present the person of Jesus Christ, not words about him. So that had a real heavy, hard-hitting effect for those in Thessalonica. And he talks about the fame of their faith, hope, love, perseverance. And later, when he writes First Corinthians in the 13th chapter, he talks about faith, hope, and love. But he tells this church in Thessalonica that faith, hope, love, and perseverance is the fame of Ural's strength in these areas has gone out so far that I don't even, people are telling me about it. I don't have to tell them anything about you. They're telling me about your walk with the Lord in these areas. And what happens is these four areas, they form a foundation of strength against persecutions and other forms of resistance from the enemy. We can get into that a little bit later. He said in verse 8, the word of your faith spread so much we don't have to say anything. In chapter 2:7, he said, we were among you in gentleness, like a nursing mother would be with her infant son. For that, I'd like to point out that their fame spread across so far, and yet he's telling them, you were infants. What do we take away from that? Well, doing the right thing today isn't what makes you grow. Doing the right thing consistently until you have a revelation of your identity to the point that you start doing the right thing, not because it's the right thing, but because that's who you are. That's where maturity is. If you want like a natural example, consider what it was like maybe when you were younger and it was time to brush your teeth. Some of us didn't care for that ritual. And brushing your teeth was something that you were forced to do until you got the realization that, hey, this is good for me and I like doing it, and I actually prefer doing it over not doing it. The consequences of not doing it outweigh the benefits of skipping it. You know, it's there's more benefit than there is consequence to brushing my teeth. A little bit of the inconvenience that I experience is better than skipping that little bit of inconvenience and dealing with a series of consequences afterward. So, maturity is like that in the Christian walk. We start off doing the right thing because it's right. We have a certain fear of punishment that's still left. And 1 John 4:18 tells us, he that fears is not made perfect in love. So we're developing and growing into this image that God has placed on the inside of us and placed in the Word of who we actually are. And we move toward that, not just by doing the right thing, but doing the right thing out of a revelation, which comes with consistency in the Word, consistency in fellowship with the Spirit, and consistency in doing the right thing. So he's telling the church, hey, you're on the right track. You are absolutely on the right track. Faith, hope, love, perseverance, all vital and all very strong in your congregation. But I'm still brooding over you as an infant, because in very polite terms, you're still in infancy, which is not a bad thing, as long as it's timely. Another thing that comes up here, he says, I love how he deals with the prayer in First Thessalonians 3:12. He prays the Lord cause you to increase and abound in love for one another and for all, just as we also do for you, so that your hearts are strengthened in holiness. Strengthened in that holiness. He's already declared us holy in other parts of the canon that chronologically hasn't been written yet. So what we take from that is our strengthening in holiness is just strengthening in our revelation of that holiness, strengthening in our function out of that holiness. And we live out of a revelation instead of living out of a law book. That is, like I said earlier, that's where maturity is, and that's where peace is as well. In chapter 4, verses 9 through 11, essentially he says, it's great brotherly love you have. Keep going in it and grow in it. And then in verses 12 through 14 in the same chapter, he tells them to honor spiritual elders and be at peace and patient toward everyone. So we're all on this journey together, this journey of discovering who God made us to be. And we're all experiencing resistance from the enemy in various levels. Some thoughts of concern, perhaps, like in the book we're looking at, about those that have fallen asleep. You know, are they safe? Do they make it? Those that are chasing us around, persecuting us, which may not necessarily be happening so bluntly here in America yet. But it's important to understand that we discuss the judgment of God, which we'll get into a little bit more in 2 Thessalonians. But Ezekiel 18:21 through 23 and verses 32, the point is made very clearly that God has no pleasure in the destruction or the death of the wicked. So his position is always on the side of redemption. He's always reaching out toward redemption. There are, I believe, if I remember correctly, 5 definitions in the Greek words in the Greek from which we translate the word judgment. 5 different kinds of judgment. They are all restorative except for one, and that one is the one where I have a disagreement with another brother and there's a falling out. The other 4, which are including divine judgment, are all restorative. It's all for the purpose of restoration. So as I said, we'll get into that later. I will be seeing you soon. Thank you.